Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, which is about the power of successful staff inductions. I just want to make sure, can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see the screen of the introduction screen of free webinar? The power of succession staff inductions. If you could do that, put in the chat box. Yes, I can see your screen, Colin, because I was doing it. Wonderful. Thanks, Celine. Thank you, Julie. We're here for a next hour, and I'm going to go through a webinar which is all about induction. We're going to talk about some of the pros and the cons and how it all works. So welcome to my webinar. All right, let's talk about what we're going to go through. So there are three areas that we want to talk about in the webinar, which is understanding the process to an excellent staff induction. So how do we really make it really exciting for that person that we spent all that time and all that money for in getting them on board to come and join our company? How to use your team to assist with staff inductions, because it is all about team in every company, and how to set the foundations for future staff success. Because when someone comes to work for you, what we've got to think about is it's their choice as well as our choice to when we're recruiting somebody. But when they come to your business, your company, they want to know that they're in the right spot and made the right decision. So we see so many companies that spend lots and lots of money on recruitment, but then when it comes to the induction side of things, sometimes it's done poorly, and that staff member makes a decision. Is this really the company for me? And I always talk about that bell curve. They're really good for the first 2 to 3 months, and then start losing the motivation. So it's all about how we induct a staff member into our business, into our company, and then take them on a journey that makes them successful. So that's what this webinar is all about. So I'm going to start off with imagine. So imagine you've put on a person and they are everything you've been looking for. So right now, our recruitment status in the workforce, about 4.2% of unemployed people. So it makes it really hard. And for those businesses that are on this webinar, and I know there's quite a few, they're in those regional areas of Australia, well, it's even harder because it's really hard to find good people. So we spend all this time and money to go, as I said, to go and find them. And then, we want to make them start. So imagine that, we put somebody on board. Let's say Colin, me. I'm starting in your business, and my first day has got to be my best day. And then I've got a well laid out plan of what I'm going to do for the next week or two. And with a succession startup for me to come and join your business. And myself, the employee who comes on board, I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm in the right place. And I'm asking questions about the business, the history of the business, mission, vision, purpose, values, all those things, because I've made the right decision to come and join for you. So we want to imagine that, when we start somebody, how are we going with it? And is it a successful start for them? So I'm going to give you plenty of tips along the way, and feel free if you want to ask some questions, so you can put in the chat box, or we've also got the question box open. And I have a magnificent person joining me very shortly to give you a couple of case studies, but I'm going to hold that off just to tease you a little bit. So for those who don't know me, my name is Colin Wilson. I'm the owner of Key Business Advisors. We love what we do. We're all about people, companies growing, and people and culture. We're all about making sure, helping businesses get that process right. Our mission, as you can see, is about taking a business from good to great, and we always love to have good to great moments in our business, and that's the culture of our business. And we're here to support and take our customers on a journey to help them improve all aspects of employee engagement and performance. So again, we know if we've got really good engagement, the performance just actually happens. And that's what it's all about, getting the right culture, getting the right people on board, and inducting them through the business. Here's some of the things that we do for our company, for a lot of companies out there. And there's a lot of people that are on this webinar that are checking in on me. So making sure that I'm still on the right track, that use a lot of these services. And there's plenty of case studies on our website. Okay, so let's just talk about understanding the process of an excellent staff induction. So what is the process? So number one, I'll say is you have to be 100% prepared. And let's just talk about that. So what I'll say is congratulations, you've recruited for success. Now it's about how you induct them. And that's the importance of what a lot of people don't put a lot of time and effort into. You know, we go into companies and they've got a 1-day induction or a 2-day induction. I think when somebody's starting, and again, the experience, if I've got somebody experienced that's come from your industry that's been there and already done that, then maybe I only need maybe a 3 or 4-day induction or a 5-day induction. If I've got somebody that's coming in that's raw and learning about your products and systems, then I'd encourage that you do something like a 2-week induction and then an action plan for the next 4 weeks, and then the next 4 weeks, and then the next 4 weeks, which I'll show you as we go through this, to really get them on board. And we've seen it. The better the induction, the quicker the take up of the staff member, the quicker the return on investment in getting them working for your business. Okay, so if we talk about just on the recruitment side of things, as it says there, we're selecting the right recruitment platform. So we've done our due diligence, whether it be LinkedIn, Seek, or whatever tailored platform it is. You've got application forms used to gather the information for, it's legal information. So you'd be surprised at how many companies don't have an application form. An application form is a form that you get somebody to fill in to say that I'm available on the working hours of the business, and and we ask them some key questions around themselves. Can they fit the role? Are they fit for work? All that sort of stuff. It's not discriminating, because we've got to be careful of that, but it's all about getting that right information. I'll tell you why, because we see companies that put people on and then they go, oh, by the way, can I have flexible working hours, or can I start earlier and finish later? Well, no, an application form is, these are the hours you're applying for, and this is what it needs. This is how it needs to be. So I think it's really, really important that that you get that application form process happening. Why? Because we're going to use that application process when we start them. So we go through all the forms and get everything ticked off. I think screening candidates, determine who's the right person. The skills assessment, have they got the right skills? Now, we'll tell you, always employ the right attitude and teach the skill sets. Don't do it the other way around, because it's really, really hard. That's why we do reference checks, to make sure. And very rarely do we get a bad referee check, but there's a process that we coach on that, because I always ask, who was your best manager? Who was a great colleague you work for? What about a great customer? And if they give me their names, they're the people I want referees from, not the ones that they're going to give me. So that's just a little tip that we coach. So then we use some form of interview guide. I think it's really important that you follow a process. Now, for correct fairness of today, you've got to make sure you interview everyone the same way, because that's the way it works. Because we don't want somebody coming back saying, well, you didn't recruit me because I live further away, but I believe I've got the skill sets. So it's really, really important that we follow that best practice. And then the background checks, so we do reference checks, and the background checks, very much, the criminal history and also working with children. And I think in today's world, the more due diligence you do, the more you're setting higher standards for that person coming in to employ you. So, Julie, yes, you can receive a copy of this webinar. It'll be up on our website, and I've hit the record button, so I know it's being recorded. And all of our old webinars, or the past webinars we've done for the last 10 years, are all on our website as well. So everyone will receive a copy or a link to go and see it. So it's really important that we get, you get your due diligence done before you put this person on, because what we don't want is a bad start or a false start, because that's costly, number one, but it also doesn't look good for the rest of your team. I think it's really, really important. So before we going through this process, as part of your induction, you really want to make sure that you've got really good what I call position descriptions, right? So we do the job ad and everything like that. But again, when somebody's starting, one of the things we want to do is we really want them to go through their PD. Now, you'll notice this is one of our PDs. You'll notice you'll see the mission, the purpose, the vision, our values, our client values. All of these things are what we want our team to live and breathe by. Because if they don't live and breathe by this, then basically they're not part of our brand. And I think that's the most important thing. I did a training session last week in Perth, and I used the word brand all the time. And it was brought up at the very end. What did you get out of today? And they said, Colin, you would have said brand 30 times throughout the day's presentation. And it is really true. So when we're putting somebody on, they become part of your brand. If they're going to damage the brand, then you really don't want to, I wouldn't keep them on board if they're doing something that's, certainly going to damage your brand. But a PD, as it says there, it outlines the KPIs, key performance indicators, your KRA, so key result areas that they need to achieve for the KPIs. also the WHS, OH&S requirements of today. So we really want a thorough PD that people can sign it. Now, what most companies do is they have a PD and they sign it and they never bring it back out for an employee. But part of our HR best practice is when we put somebody on, we go through the position description, and then we also go through what the expectations are, and we talk about how they'd be performance managed or performance coached along the way. And that's all links back to your PD. If something goes wrong and someone goes for an unfair dismissal or a general protection claim or work cover claim, the first thing they want to know is what's the job description. So it's very, very important you get that due diligence out in the way. So we send the PD when we offer the job role along with the contract, which I'll get into in a sec. But then when they come and start with you on part of their induction, you want to go through the PD, the contract, you know, the NES, all the things that you need to do as an employer. Okay, so we offer the job role to the best candidate. So the way we coach it is, you know, just make sure you reiterate your high standards. So through a thorough interview, you'll ask them questions about their skill sets, behaviours, all the above. And when you offer the job role, you know, one of the things we coach is say, I'm offering you this role because, and then we go through the summary of all the things that we liked about this person. And because I really like you, you're really engaging in the interview, you asked some great questions, we believe you've got these skill sets, and we think you've got the right attitude, behaviours to come and join our team. So again, it's a bit of a hard world. We don't want to go and recruit on eyeball theory. You look good, so I'm going to put you on. We don't want to do that. What we do want to do is we want to put people on that've got the skill sets and the capability to do it. And you'll know, based on your interviewing, if you're a good interviewer, where they currently sit. You explain the package in simple terms, when they're going to start, talk about, the KBA handbook or induction pack that you've actually got. Give them a copy of the PD, employment contracts, and all the terms and conditions, staff action form, and along with all the other forms as well, superannuation, all the forms that we need to do, because that sets up for a successful start when they actually come in. My tip is the more work you can get them to do before they start, the better it is for you, because we're all time poor as managers and business owners, and it just makes that process a lot easier. And they can come backwards and forwards if they don't understand something as well. We confirm the start date, the time when we want them to start, explain how you're going to induct them into the business, and this is our process. And you'll hear a bit later on about some case studies, because we've even had people go, well, I'm experienced, I don't need induction, I can just come straight in. But, you'll hear about that case study a bit shortly. And I think we want to congratulate them on becoming part of the team. Now, again, I use the word team because we're all about team at Key Business Advisors. So you've got to fit into the team. If you don't fit into the team, you pretty much can't stay. And that's our culture that's in our business. And ask them if you missed anything to ensure that everything is 100% clear before they start. And there's sometimes the little things. Where do I park? Just confirming lunch breaks, all that sort of stuff. And we just want to make sure that we set them up for a successful start. So I'm giving you all the hype of what we do when we're putting somebody on board, but now it's about, well, okay, the spotlight's now on you to do that induction process. So again, employment agreements are exactly the same. So we want to make sure that we are clear, it's full-time, part-time, casual, whatever it is. Definition of the role, so we refer to the PD, the award classifications. Now again, so many small businesses out there don't understand the award system or don't understand today's modern Fair Work awards. We've got to make sure that you do understand them and you get the right classification of that particular award. So I'm going to refer to a retail award, which is has 8 grades, 1 to 8. And there's, as you go through the award, it explains the responsibilities of what a level 1 is right through to a level 8. And a level 8 would be a person that's totally running a shop or a retail shop and fully in control of everything. So again, you want to make sure that you choose the right award, because there are different pay rates or pay grades as per each grade. We have this wonderful thing called the NES system, which is the National Employment Standards. And again, as employers, you need to make sure that you understand what they are all about. There used to be 10, now there's 11. And you need to go through each one of those points with your new starter to explain this is the 11 national standards that are in there today. Because we see it particularly with young people that if they we want to explain what, carers leave is, what, I guess sick leave is, and, and if there's a bereavement, what bereavement leave is. We want to make sure that we explain what it is. So again, that is really, really important, and it's very well articulated in a casual NES and also a full-time employee as well, or a permanent part-time. You might have some flexibility agreements where you have you're allowed a bit of flexibility to start early, finish late. That's part of your culture, or even working from home will be included in part of your agreement. But again, we want to make sure it's clear when we're explaining to people who are starting. And then anything around overtime rates or penalty rates. The retail award has a laundry allowance. It talks about rostering, all the above. So it's making sure that we're 100% on time, organised, and it's actually in the employment contract. Right down to the point there of sort of termination. What is the termination clause that's actually in your employment agreements, right? So what we encourage you not to do is copy a friend's employment agreement and use that, because it's happened before, where someone's copied and pasted a person from major corporates employment agreement, small business, and their redundancy was like a 3-month payout. So, that hurt that particular small business. So again, get your employment contract right, get your due diligence right is what I'm saying, and then making sure that you explain them. And then talk about the probationary period and the termination process within your business. Why not? This is our standard. So, most people think that a probation is only 3 months. It's not. It's 6 months. In Fair Work Australia, it's a 6-month probation period. And then if you're under 15 employees, you have a minimum employment period where it's up to 12 months. So again, you really want to make sure that whatever size business you are, that you're explaining the actual agreement that they're actually in. And then obviously termination, what would happen in the case of termination. And in there, you would have in your employment contract, there would be standards. We commonly see some people have security video footage. If it's not in the contract, you can't use it. So again, making sure you got your due diligence 100% up to date. As I explained, the retail award, there's minimum pay rates, there's allowances, there's schedules, or things that you need to know, and I would refer that when you put somebody on. So selecting the right award is really, really important. And if something goes wrong, and again, someone goes to Fair Work Australia, they'll ask you, they'll want to see the award that you're actually paying them on, or a lawyer, they'll want to know what that is. So it's really important you get that due diligence right. And if you struggle with that, then we have a hotline, 1300 for advice. You can give us a call. The team are more than happy to help you out in setting you up and making sure you're on the right pathway. I talked about the National Employment Standards. So again, this is part of due diligence. So again, we want to set somebody up. Minimum tolerance, what are they? What does it cover? So again, it gives you that full recommendation. So annual leave, personal leave, carers leave, compassionate leave. So compassionate leave is not my friend's grandmother. It is somebody that's direct family. And again, we get these calls that come through our office. And I think what's important is, there's the new family and domestic violence. If you don't know about that, then I recommend you, do a bit of research on that, or you can contact us as well. We can explain it. But again, these are the entitlements that us employers have got to make sure we provide for our employees. So it's really important that, again, I can't stress enough that the more professional you are at the front end, the more that person goes, wow, this is a professional business and I've come to the right place. Because I think it's really, really important. So all this related information is super, super important. What we commonly see with small businesses who are time poor, there is an employment contract, which is about 2 pages, letter of offer, which is the contract, not really an employment contract, with a PD and a bonus structure all in the one document. And we don't recommend that at all, because that can backfire against you big time. So it's really important you get that due diligence right. And I think what's important as well is, you really need to get signature from that you've actually gone through the employment, the NES, so Fair Work Information Statement, because Fair Work can knock on your door and go, have you provided this? Are you following this? Can you show us evidence? So again, we highly recommend that you create some sort of letter, so they sign and acknowledge that you've gone through and you are actually definitely following the National Employment Standards, which is what we've just spoken about. So feel free if you want to ask some questions and let me know how I'm going so far. But this is very common what I'm talking about now, and it's really important that we get this process right. You want to explain how they're going to be inducted. So I'm going to really set the standards up. So you need to ensure that your new employees made the right decision by joining your business. So we congratulate them, they made the right decision. You need to be planned and organised for when they start. And you need to make sure you have some form of formal induction plan of how you're going to onboard them successfully. A big one for me is you need to ensure that the team is ready to engage, support, and train them into your business way, right? So we have a thing called the KBA way. We're going to induct somebody into our business the KBA way. This is how we do it and how we do things, and all that's part of how we explain it. And we need to demonstrate that you have, those professional standards and HR best practice in your business. So again, it's expensive, when we employ somebody. If we lose somebody within the first 6 to 12 months, they say that it costs up to 3 times the salary of that person. So you've put them on, you've paid them a wage, you've then tried to train them. There's an expense in doing that, and then they leave, and then the next thing you're going to do is got to go through the whole process again. So turning staff over is very, very expensive for a business. That's why it's so important that you do diligence right with your recruiting, and then you set up that induction process to make sure it's right. And just sometimes it's as simple as things. So when someone starts, it's very, very important to us that their desk is set up with a laptop computer, their mobile phone, a drink bottle, a KBA drink bottle. We have a nice, what we call a black Pentium folder that we give them with their induction in it. So we really want them to feel special. And if they're a consultant, I try my hardest to make sure that we've got their business cards ready to go, on the day that they start. So when they come in, they have a wow factor, and we've set the expectations that we're prepared for you. So I hope you're prepared for us, because we're going to rely on you to try and help us generate that great word that every business wants is revenue. So I think, again, it's really, really important to set those standards really, really high. And I think the big one is an organisational chart. So here's an example of our organisational chart. But again, you explain, and you'll see that I've got a couple of vacant positions in there, because this is all about how we bring people into the company and we show some of the opportunities. This is part of our strategy. So this is where we want to be in the next 12 months. So again, we've got a few vacancies there, and it shows that, we're a company that's in growth mode, and this is what we want to do, or in change mode, where your company's at. Because why are you putting this person on? Are they replacing a role, or is it a brand new role, or an additional role because you've actually grown? Because again, how we explain that will actually make them feel good about how they fit into your company. So the proper induction allows you to you and your new starters to be on the same page, clarifying your obligations as an employer and your expectations of them. I can't explain that any more than what is up there on that screen in front of you. It is about that clarification. So if you're time poor, and again, we see it where someone started in the business and hasn't got a laptop for 3 days, that person's making an assessment of, have I joined the right place? Or a manager doesn't have time for them, or you're supposed to go out and spend some time with Colin and he's not here. Now, we know things change within a business, but if the whole week of induction is not well planned and organised and it's disastrous, then that person's probably thinking, well, have I made the right decision? Have I just jumped out of the flying pan into the fire pit is the saying. So again, we don't want that. We want people to come and join us and go, wow, this is a great company, this is going places, and I want to be part of it. And that's the expectation. So in the recruitment training that we've done, one of the things I talk about is you're getting interviewed by the interviewee more so than you're interviewing them. So, they want to know. Then our younger generation that want to come and join the workforce, they don't see a manager as a manager. They look for leaders, and they want to be a leader too. So in their mind, everyone's a leader in the business. Some just have different ranking, but I'm still a leader in my role, and you need to start to demonstrate that. And that is the modern way that we need to transition our businesses to when it comes to running a business. And especially when as we move towards 2030, the whole dynamics of our workforce is about to change. So get ready for it. And I'm about to release a book. I'll be releasing a book in February next year, and that is all about business beyond tomorrow. We've got to make sure that we are up to the standards of what the expectation is of our younger generation. So us older generation, we need to change the way we do things or improve it so it ticks the boxes. Okay, so I hope is there any questions after my first session? So can you give me a bit of thumbs up, or yes, you're on the right track, like what you're talking about, or is there any questions you want to ask me before I go on to the next subject? Come on, don't be shy. There's a few of you on the webinar. It's actually a fantastic webinar. We've actually got 43 people registered, and I think that's a really good that's a good number. And I know we've got about 20 odd on the webinar right now. So I must be going all right because no one's put any comments on there. But don't be scared. Please interact with me because that's the type of person I am. Okay, so topic 2, and that is how do we use team to assist with staff inductions. Now, if you've got great culture in your business, then you use your team to induct people. So sometimes people think because I'm the manager, I'm the one that's got to do the induction for this person, and I don't have time, so you're only going to get half a day or a day with me, or maybe 2 days at tops. Even if a small business of 10 people or even 5 people, no, we want you to spend time with every person in the business. The bigger the business is, the easier it is to induct them through the team. And I think what's important is most companies have different pillars. So I started off with pillars in my business of business strategy and growth, people and culture, HR, and training, leadership and sales training. So again, a person coming to our business goes and sits with the team who actually facilitates all those different things. I don't do HR. So a person starting in our business would spend time with each one of our HR consultants because they're multi-skilled, and some of them have a specialty that they specialize in. So again, it's a proper induction is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so use your champions, and that's the comment here. So within your company, who are your champions within your business? And I think history of the company is really, really important. So again, the people that we interview, the good interviewees who ask us the question, how did you start the company? What's the journey been like? Gives a bit of a history. It's a great question to ask a director when we're actually interviewing. And again, that's about aligning with their values and what we actually do. You want to talk about your products, your services that you offer, marketing. So again, marketing is a big part of the business. We need to also set the rules. So, we want to make sure that we've got rules around, social media, what we put on social media, what we shouldn't put on social media. And, again, I'm going to talk about an employee as part of our brand. So again, we want to make sure that, their social media is professional as well, because if they work for us, we're an outsourced HR business. And we want to make sure that, it's all professional. The last thing we want is someone on a spy cam, right? Because we just know the damage that's done on the other half of the other part of the world. So again, that is about being professional. Systems and processes. Now, again, I think it's super, super important that we have systems that we use, processes we use. And again, we see people that have come in with experience. I didn't use that in my last job, so I don't want to use this system in our new job. Well, no, that's your last job. In our business, this is the KBA way that we actually do it. Could be warehouse delivery. So again, safety vests, making sure that you stay within the yellow lines, what I can do, what I can say, where I can go, high vis. All of this is all part of that orientation and induction process. I will talk about orientation in a sec. The IT setup with your, laptop, mobile phone, all the things that have been done, your policies and procedures, your safety, evacuation points, all the above. And then how do you, lock up? Something as simple as locking up and setting the alarm within the actual business. So a lot of small businesses, everyone's got a key, and everyone locks up as like first in, last out. That's all part of it. But we have a duty of care to make sure that they are trained right and inducted right into our business. So I hope that makes lots of sense. So I'm just going to go through some tips, our tips of 10 tips to a great induction. And as you can see, number one is make sure the staff member's first day is their best day. There's nothing better than somebody starting and going, well, welcome to the team. So we always want to make it a bit of a fanfare when someone comes to our business. It is all about them. So, we want the quicker we can make them feel more welcomed, and comfortable, the better it is. Then we're going to make sure we get all that necessary paperwork done, the documentation, PDs, contracts. Like I said before, we go through it with them and make sure that they fully understand it. And again, we've had a company that's gone, oh, you know what? I've got 20 policies. I'll lose half a day, if they read all the policies and go through it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that you might lose half a day, but the bottom line is you can stagger that out. You can say, look, we've given you an hour every day to go through and finalise these policies and our procedures. But the reality is, if something goes wrong, and you're to face Judge Judy, they're going to ask, can you show us the policy or the procedure? I think it's really, really important that you go through it. We always say, when things go from bad to worse and worse to crap, and it links back to employment contract, PD, policies, procedures, people say to us, well, if I should have done paid a bit more attention to that, I've gone and explained it more so. So again, when we go into companies, our HR team are brilliant at it. They might roll out some policies, procedures, but do a presentation with, 3 or 4 or maybe 5 key dot points per policy to speed that process up and just explain what's in it, and then ask them to read it and sign it. Anything with ink on it or acknowledgement protects your business. And again, it's professional. So if I've got no policies or procedures and I'm putting somebody on, person might be thinking, whoa, what sort of company is this? Because that's an expectation today of when people come and work for you. You want to make sure you give them some form of induction booklet or staff manual, welcome to the team, and explains, which includes your organisational chart, your plan for them for the next 12 weeks to ensure a successful start. So in 3 months, we want you to be here. And, so the old saying, begin with the end in mind. And if you can exceed that, well, absolutely fantastic. And we've got a great person in our business, and he's started with us, and he's keen as mustard. But we just want to make sure that we're following the right process and not throwing him into the deep end too quickly, so we fail them, right? So this particular person is keen as mustard, which is great, but he's got to be ready to talk to our clientele when we're ready, if that makes sense. And that's starting to happen now, which is really, really good. You want to make sure they understand your policy and procedures, get the signature. You want to induct them, educate them and induct them and train them on your products, services to engage them. And in CRM, some sort of client management software or POS, if you're a retail store, your POS software, they've got to learn it. And the old saying is, I say it, people will not recommend or sell a product if they don't know it or understand it. So when we put somebody on, we've got to make sure we educate them. This is how these are our products and services. And for anyone that's worked with me, one of the conversations I always talk about is that business acumen conversation. Have the business acumen conversation. This is how our business makes money. Clients pay your wages. Colin, the owner, doesn't pay your wages. So we've got to make sure we give a great customer experience. And one of the questions I always ask is, can you tell me of a business that can survive without a customer? And no one can tell me, right? Even funeral homes, they can't survive unless people die. An education centre, childcare centre can't survive unless people put their child into a childcare centre. And don't even get me started on our politicians, but people vote for them. That's how they stay in, and that's a different conversation I really do not want to entertain. Then we want to create, so we set up an induction. We're pretty much going to say, you're going to start, but this is where we want you within 12 weeks, the first 3 months of the business. And then we create some sort of action plan, induction action plan to make sure, and we link it back to their 2-week induction and some sort of skills matrix of what we need to do. So for you to come on board and get to where we need you to be, not where you need to be, where we need you to be, these are the skill sets that you need to demonstrate within our business. And if we've got champions, product champions, then we can put the responsibility on them to say, you make sure that when we induct this person, that Colin knows how to use our Capsule CRM. And one of the things that we encourage is the staff members initials it, the new starter, and so does the person who's training them. It says that this guy is capable of using our system. One of the things that I love to do and is on the 6-week conduct a progress review, right? And set some smart goals. So, at a 6-week period, one of the questions I always ask our team members is, how have we gone at onboarding you into this business? Can you please tell me, you're not getting into trouble, what have we done well and what could we improve on? Because that sets us up for a better induction for the next person. And one for me is, based on what you've what we've employed you for, Do you see that, have we led you down the garden path? What you've applied for, is it exactly the job that you actually applied for? Because I think that's really good to actually check in. I once had a person who come and joined us who said to me, I have this skill level. And I said, I believe you've got this skill level. And I said, there's two different pay grades. So it was a HR administrator to a HR advisor. This person said, I'm a HR advisor. I've done all this before. So we put him on, and I said to him, if you are not up to scratch within 6 weeks, then pretty much you won't make it in the business. And that's pretty much what happened, because and again, we did our due diligence. We were convinced that he was, as administrator, I wanted to start him earlier, but this person was like, nah, I've got this, I've got the skill level. I will tell you, it was just out of COVID and we were desperate. So we put the person on, but 6 weeks later, I didn't want to go through the long-term pain. So we moved that person on. So again, part of your induction is you're also checking in on the skill level of that particular person. Where you do see brilliance, there's recognition and praise for your new staff member. We set some milestone goals for them. For us, if someone's done something brilliant, we have a gong. They'll get them to ring their gong. So this was their, first problem they solved for a client, or first sale they've made, whatever it may be. It's all part of this success, and it's all part of the journey. And we want to make sure that the rest of your staff engage with them, right? Because there's nothing worse than somebody starting and the team don't like the person, right? So this is where personalities come into it, and we do personality profiling, and part of our induction process is when someone starts, they're personally profiled, and they get to see how other people's profiles are within the business. And that's all part of being what I call a great employer, and really getting that engagement happening. So we set up our staff member, and typically we set them up with the right tools and resources, so PD, equipment, all the things that they need, PC or laptop. Prefer laptops, because in today's world we will need to grab and go, and it's a different world of today. A proper 2-week induction plan. We talk about our culture, I think is really important, and what motivates our team, the motivation, the profiling I just talked about. And then there's nothing wrong with creating a buddy system. So we've done a 2-week induction or a week induction, and now you're going to tag. So you're going to go and tag with, Alison for a day. You're going to tag with Chris for a day, Gina for a day, and you're going to go a day on the road for them, and see what it's like, or a day on the road with myself, or with Richard. So again, this is all part of how we actually do it. We do the regular check-ins, and we continue that, what I call a training plan. So we need to get you skilled up, and this is part of our training program, and that can lead on from your induction process. Okay, so when we do a staff orientation, I just want to make sure I got that right. No, here we go. So here is, I was correct. Here's an example of a template of one of our staff inductions. So you can see on a Monday, welcome to the team. Meet with Chris, and then obviously meet with me the next day. And then, so again, we make sure our staff members have lunch. We do want our team members to go and join them for lunch, or mingle with them during a lunch period, because that's part of building those relationships. So they get to move through the business and learn bits and pieces. And then we have an initial, so staff initial, the person is doing it, and the manager initial, making sure they've actually gone through it. So all of this is part of a proper induction plan. When we've introduced this into companies, and there's a few companies that are on this webinar that we've introduced it to, we just know it works, right? And they come back and go, my God, we are so much well planned and organised for this new starter. And the new starter feels great, because they feel important, because you've gone to the effort in putting a plan out. So what would happen in our business is, once we've confirmed the plan, the induction plan like this, our wonderful Joanna in our business puts it into everyone's calendars, because we make sure that's all clear. And so people know they've got that time allocated for that person. And it's also into the new employee's calendar as well. So part of our process is, when they come on board, we set them up with their laptop and go through their due diligence. Their calendar is already full for the first 2 weeks of who they're going to be with, and what they're going to do, even free time, right? So we're going to give you a free afternoon, because we want you to absorb the week, because come Monday, we want you to tell us what you learned on your first week of induction. So we go to that level, and we coach, manage, and mentor that level out to to our clientele. Orientation is a big one as well. So again, That's a due diligence. So again, an induction is how we're going to get them through. An orientation's like this is where we're making sure we're getting our due diligence done. So it's again employment contracts, fair work information statement, induction plans being done, expectations of the role, staff responsibilities, timesheets, all the above. That is all part of your due diligence. What to do. As owners, we are responsible for an employee coming from home to work, and from work back to home again. So again, we need to make sure that that is right where they park. If they are working from home, we are responsible for their well-being and their WHS, OHS, that they've got a good spot where they're working from home, so they don't lay on the lounge and end up with a sore neck. We've got to make sure we do our due diligence, and we have a workstation checklist, which is part of our process to make sure that they're working from home. That's actually a downloadable document off our website too, by the way, if someone's interested in doing that, because it's really, really important that we get that due diligence right. So we work in a bit of a hybrid workforce at the moment with flexible work arrangements. So again, those tools of trade, we offer our consultants. They've all got company cars, so there is a process that they've got to go through. We hop in the car and make sure they can start the car and drive it around the block and park the car, because I think that's important. And then we go through our due diligence, where we get the car serviced, what would happen if there was a flat tire. All of this is part of that process. All right, and then staff engagement. So I hope I've ticked the boxes on that, but I just want to go on to staff engagement is everything. So the more aligned the team is, the more productive it'll be. And engagement is having everyone on the same page. So if I put somebody on and they're going through each person within a business, in what makes a great business is everyone's talking positive about the business. What is detrimental is if we put somebody that started on their first day and they're going to sit with somebody, and that somebody is bitching or complaining or bagging the brand, people in it, the company culture, whatever, then that could be a detractor for that new starter. So we want to make sure that you've got that culture right, because that is most important when putting somebody on. Again, I think it's about working collaboratively, more cohesively, taking more ownership. We're sharing our company goals, our vision, where we want to be. And we just want that synergy in communication. We want communication. So if if someone's not well, you ring us. You text messages and ring us, right? We may not get hold of us, or if something's wrong, but we want you to ring us. We want to make sure that you're okay if something goes wrong. And then again, we spoke about maybe some personality profiling, but the big thing is together we're all one team, and we're all here to achieve more. So rather than me ramble on about some stuff that I truly believe in and I'm writing a book about, what I've got here is some stats for you. So just on the value of building relationships with your employees. So, not everyone gets along, and you don't have to, like everybody you work with. But when someone comes on board, we want to make sure that there is professional standards, that people are not bagging the company, the manager, or any of the colleagues, or any of the clientele, right? Because that is bad, if I can say, for business, right? So and if you've got a problem and you need to fix it, then I can tell you this is exactly what we specialize in. But here's some stats for you. So if you've got increased employment engagement and satisfaction, employees who feel supported in the workplace are 70% more engaged and 21% more productive. So if we've got this right and we put somebody into our company, then all of a sudden we've got the bar pretty high of what our expectations are when someone starts. If you've got improved collaboration and teamwork, then employees who have trust in their teams experience 74% less stress and 50% being more productive. Enhanced communication. So again, those team meetings you have on a Monday, like we had ours this morning. Let's talk about who we took from good to great last week. What are we working on this week? It's all collaborative. It's all sharing information. And again, it demonstrates that higher level of innovation and performance. Career development. Again, research show that companies who develop staff boost morale, retain top talent. So, in our setup, and you'll sort of see that in our org chart, we have a HR administrator, coordinator, advisor, a consultant. So there's a pathway for someone to follow a career development. So even if I'm a small business, you've got to think about what you can do to make it exciting for that particular person. I also want to put out, not everyone wants a career pathway. Some people have to come work in a job and just do the same thing, go in, go home. There's no problems with that as well, but you've got to talk about the journey that you're on and where we actually want to go. We want to reduce the stress levels so employees have positive interactions at work experience. At work experience 23% less stress levels and positive work culture. Companies who promote and deliver positive work environments see a 50% increase in employee satisfaction, which leads to a 21% boost in productivity. This webinar today is not about psychosocial, right? But mental health is a big thing that is happening in the world of today, especially us in Victoria. 243 days of lockdown, we're broke, the government's trying to tax us for everything. It is stressful for everyone. So that 1/3 of my life that I come to work, we've got to make sure that we've got a game on and we are positive when someone comes and works for us, when someone comes and starts with us, because we don't want any negativity, we don't want any bad attitude in our business, we don't want to damage the culture. So that is my message when we talk about just how important it is to actually do that. By the way, the research is here, we've got the stats from, but it's so important in today's world that you have a great start with a new employee. When they come to work, I'm coming to the right place, and they say, I love my job. This is the greatest thing, best decision I've ever made, because that's exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so I hope I helped you in number 2. And again, if you've got any questions or messages, please put that through. Now I'm going to get into topic 3, which is about setting the foundations of your future staff success. So if you're not developing your up-and-coming talent, then be prepared that they'll most likely leave. So again, this is part of the process of your journey that you're actually taking people on. So, if I've got a new starter and, I've got somebody who's got a skill level, then why not put them with that particular person to actually do it? So again, we'll always constantly be trying to improve what we're trying to do. A lot of people don't understand an employee life cycle, right? So, we talk to lots of business owners and they say, I put this person on, they were great, and then they were crap, right? We had to get rid of them. And then, my question to them is, what did you do to fail them? Because if they're good when they started, why didn't you keep the momentum going, and why didn't you set them up for success? Now, I will say out there are some people out there that, they wait for that induction period and then they turn. We've seen that. But, most as employers or managers, we've got to make sure we've done our best job to set that person up for success. But as it says there, the life cycle, there's job analysis, there's recruiting and onboarding, there's reward and recognition. We do performance appraisals. So part of your induction process, this is how we do our appraisals. This is what our expectations are. If things go wrong, this is how we do our misconduct, right? This is how we do our performance cancelling, right? So if you're underperforming, we're going to have a conversation with you. That learning and development, we want to train you, we want to grow you, and we want some succession planning as well. So we want to set you up for success. So I think when we're starting somebody on, we would go through, and we recommend going through, this whole process and educating them that we want you to be successful in our business. We don't want this not to work because it's so costly. And again, it's how you address things and pull it in line quickly once they've started. And if we're talking about training and developing staff, which is part of induction, these are the outcomes for the staff members, and these are the business outcomes for the business. So the quicker we can set somebody up for success, the better the induction, the business benefits, and so does that staff member, as you can see there on the big screen. Okay, now the payoffs. And when we train people, they feel valued, as you can see there, they improve efficiencies. That's why we're putting people on in the first place. The company culture, the output, the retention is just so important, and we want to make sure that you're an employer of choice, because we know that if you're an employer of choice, that staff retention rate is around 90%, which has come from ARI, which is Australian Human Resources Institute. Okay, so it's important that you're an employer of choice, and it's important that you really, deliver on what you said you put this person on, and you've really got to showcase that the culture is really, really good. And that's what young people are looking for today. They want to go and work for people that it's a great culture, it's a great environment. Yes, being rewarded for money is a big thing as well. But, what is your reward system? How does that actually work? How do you do pay increases and that? You can explain all of that. This is what we do. These are our expectations. because what it does do is it creates that motivation and sets them up for success. Now, enough of me talking. We have a wonderful HR consultant in our business. Her name is Gina Lutz. She's been with us for 4 years. She started off as a HR administrator, and through her hard determination and commitment, she is now, as of 1st of July, a HR consultant in our business. And she's involved in the thick of many companies when it comes to recruiting, inducting, policies and procedures and all the above. So I'm going to get her to come and join me, and she's going to go through just 3 simple case studies of somebody who's done a good induction, a poor induction, and a great induction. So welcome, Gina. Come and join us. And I'll just move over aside here, and you can come to the centre. Beautiful. Do you want me? I'll put this down a bit because you can. There beautiful. You go. Go for it.
Everyone, thank you, Colin, for that introduction. So I'll go through 3 case studies. So we've got a good, poor, and a great example of an induction. So an example of a good induction is where the employee should feel informed and have all the necessary information to have a good start to their employment. With a recent client case, while the onboarding induction offered the employee resources to learn about the company's history, values, and strategic goals, the employee showed limited interest in learning about these areas of the business. The employee was focused mainly on immediate tasks, which delayed their understanding of how their role connected to the company's mission, vision, and values. As a result, the employee did not have strategic alignment with the company. The onboarding experience was smooth and well executed from the client's side. The employee was able to begin contributing quickly and felt supported. However, the full potential of the onboarding induction was limited because the employee did not show that level of interest and then did not align with the strategic alignment and future growth of the company.
So did that company have to go back and redo all of this again?
Yes, they did. So they realized that gap of where the employee fell short. And I think that's an example of where the company could have, or the employee could have aligned better with the organisation and the goals.
I think sometimes that's just about telling the person slow down because you've got to become part of our brand, right? And make sure we've got that. Okay, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. So an example of a poor onboarding where a client recently hired a new employee to join their team. Despite the company's intentions to provide a positive onboarding experience, several key elements were overlooked, resulting in a poor and ineffective induction process. So the client wasn't prepared for the employee's commencement, and the employee began their role without receiving any prior communication or induction, resulting in missed opportunities to build engagement and understanding. The employee arrived on day 1 without clarity on expectations or proper setup. So I think that was the case where you mentioned, Colin, they didn't have a computer for 3 days.
Yeah.
The employee felt disconnected and underprepared, which affected their confidence and ability to contribute meaningfully to the early stages of their role. The missed induction created knowledge gaps, and the lack of support led to a slower integration within the team. The knowledge gap could have been rectified earlier on, and the employee could have contributed to the role and organisation hitting the ground running.
And I think I know the case study of that. There was plenty of time. There was they had plenty of time to set this person up, and just did not happen. Yeah, the leaders weren't aligned in making sure it all happened. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to a great example. So a tailored induction plan was created for a new employee with our client. It was a good to great result. The induction onboarding process was prepared well in advance and included the following key areas. So the employee met with the owner and was informed about the company's history, the mission and the values and the why behind why the company started in the first place. The induction included in-person sessions with all key personnel, so all key managers and all employees in the business, and understood then the cross-collaboration, cross-functional reason, the integration with each department. A peer buddy was assigned for additional training and support throughout that whole induction process. There was a clear job role and expectation, and individual team responsibilities were explained as well. IT, payroll, policies and safety procedures were already set up, organised and explained to the employee on the day. There was a clear follow-up with structured reviews and growth development discussions implemented within the first 2 weeks, the 3 months, the 6 months. So it was a clear structured growth plan for the employee. And so from this, the employee reported feeling confident, supported, and well-informed within their first few weeks. And they quickly integrated into the team and achieved their goals. So the onboarding experience reinforced the company's commitment to employee engagement and set a strong foundation for long-term success.
Very good, very good. Well, I think one of the things that you might have to stay with me after we finish the webinar, but one of the things that that I talk about, so I'll put this up just a little bit. So yeah, one of the things that I talk about, and I didn't make this up. I learned this from a great CEO for a company I did work with. But you got to think about when a staff member goes home and their partner says, "How's your day today?" That is the moment of truth, whether you're a great employer, and it's the moment of truth whether you've done the right thing by onboarding them. And so you can imagine that poor case study, you know, like, I haven't got a computer now, da 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 da. Just imagine the chat with the partner across the other side of the table while they're having dinner, and what the coaching might look like. Well, maybe you just got to stay there until you find that next job. I mean, we see this happen time and time again, and that is the reason why we did this. Now, I hope you've enjoyed our webinar, but I've got Gina with, is there any questions? You want to throw some questions into the question box or the chat box before we finish up? But, you know, we absolutely love what we do. It's not work. We see the good, the bad, the ugly. Most of the time, the ugly contact us to go and try and help them take from ugly to good. But then we try and go and get them from good to great is a big thing. So feel free to ask some questions if you want. I hope we've given you a thorough education over, you know, just how to induct people into the workforce. And I think it's really, really important. While people are putting some questions in, you know, there's some free information if you want. You can download some tips on how to attract the best talent, recruitment, or HR best practice, you know, or you can contact us or email us. We're here to be resourceful. It doesn't matter where you are within Australia. We're always on a plane going somewhere in the world of Australia. And I think, look, you know, we're here to help and support. That's what we're here to do. We've got you feel free if you're struggling a little bit, you can contact us. I'm happy, Gina, or myself to take a free 15-minute chat just to where you're at, what you need to do to try and help your business, because you know, we will look at it. Your success is our success. So, so again, you can get a bit of a taste of what we actually do if people are interested in doing that. And then our next webinar, which is always our famous webinar at the end of the year, we probably teach people what not to do rather than what to do, how to set those expectations for the staff functions and Christmas parties. So, our business has been operating for 17 years, nearly 18 years. We're always good for a good 20 to 30 grand worth of sexual harassment claims, bullying claims, things that have gone wrong from corporate functions or Christmas parties. So in Melbourne, the spring carnival racing season kicks off in October, end of October, start of November, and it just continues on from that week. So it's really important that you talk about code of conduct, you know, that bullying, harassment, positive duty, because you don't want that happening in your business. And if anyone wants to join us in that first week of January when we start putting out the bushfires, it is one of the greatest education sessions of all time. So, and we always put this out every year, like, do your due diligence. Make sure you have a Christmas party that has a start date, an end date, and you don't go and party with them to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and feed them lots of alcohol or anything else of that matter. So that's our webinar. We set everything up prior to Christmas. That'll be our final webinar, and then we'll be doing a series of webinars next year. And lastly, if you've enjoyed this webinar, because Google reviews helps us with other webinars, it's free. We've given you a heap of information. You can download some information off our website. But if you really enjoyed our webinar, please, you know, give us a good Google review. If we've disappointed you in any way, feel free to email me, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation if I've disappointed you. So it is 1:57, nearly going on 1:58, a 1-hour webinar, well executed. Well done, Gina. Thank you for joining me. And we don't have any questions, so I take that as a good webinar. And we want to wish you a great week ahead, and happy sailing. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.